In the heart of the forest, next to a large lake, we see a beautiful girl telling John to wake up and reassuring him that everything he saw was just a dream. John wakes up to the sound of his phone, which has a text message from a girl named Kitty, telling him that his friends are on their way. It's clear that John has an interest in drawing, as there are models and colorful sketches on his desk. At first glance, he looks like an ordinary high school student. John packs his backpack for a trip with his classmates, putting inside an axe, clothes, and of course a small water bottle. He wraps a cloth around his head, smiles at himself in the mirror, and leaves the house. On the wooden door frame, there are old pictures of the local dam taken from a newspaper article about an incident that happened at the nearby lake. John leaves the house and meets his friends, including Kitty, the girl who appeared in his dream. She greets him along with 4 other high school students, including a boy named Matt, Kitty's boyfriend. John sits in the back seat of the car, while Simon, Matt's brother, is driving. Zeke is also part of the group. John decides to film the trip, as he is passionate about cinema and plans to study it to become a film director. His friends tease him because he has never been in a relationship with a girl. Suddenly, Matt and Kitty start kissing in the front seat, which distracts the driver as he tries to control the steering wheel. He hits a large bump, scaring everyone, but then laughs and apologizes. When they arrive at the gate, John gets out to unlock the large padlock while his friends joke around and throw fireworks near his feet. Kitty shows special attention to John, but Matt stops her. After the gate opens, the group continues their way until they reach the shore at a small hidden marina in the forest. The students unload their supplies and sleeping bags and head toward the boat waiting nearby. Meanwhile, Zeke introduces all members of the expedition in a sarcastic way, including Deb, an energetic girl who can defend herself and doesn't tolerate nonsense. They reach the boat and remove its plastic cover. The boat belonged to John's grandfather and is extremely heavy. The students pull it toward the water. Kitty complains about the lack of mobile signal in the isolated Black Lake, the place they are heading to. John gives Kitty a handmade charm on a string. He is worried that the trip might be dangerous or that someone could get hurt. Kitty reassures him and tells him not to back out so she won't regret inviting him. While the others are busy organizing their gear, Kitty returns the gift to John and says she will wear the charm when they light the fire at night. Kitty steps away from the group and meets an elderly man named Parks, a local resident who was repairing his car nearby. The man warns them about the trip and says the water is dangerous, advising them not to go. But John reassures him that he will make sure no one falls into the water. Parks insists the water is dangerous, and tells him they should bring his friends there instead of going. He says it was a big mistake. John assures him again that he understands the responsibility, and everything will be fine. The man leaves but says he will come back to check on the travelers. The students begin their journey without any incidents, heading toward the island to spend time together before going to college. Matt takes the oars, and the group starts rowing toward the nearby island. Suddenly, John notices something strange in the water but does not show concern. Matt suggests stopping to swim for a while, but John rejects the idea because the water is cold and insists they continue the trip. However, Kitty and her boyfriend decide to swim anyway, and Zeke films everything. The rest of the friends then jump into the water and start playing. John worries about them, but there is nothing obvious to be alarmed about. Simon suggests creating a romantic atmosphere and drinking something. John follows his lead, but before he grabs the drink, Kitty's charm falls from him. Suddenly, the boat violently shakes from underneath. They realize Simon is the one handling the supplies, and he decides to swim toward the girls. Despite John's objections, he continues swimming. Meanwhile, Deb and Kitty share old memories, but Matt suddenly emerges from underwater. As he reaches them, the boat shakes violently. The 3 people on the boat call out to their friends, but there is no urgency now. Something feels wrong. John notices a disturbance in the water and sees a strange creature passing under the boat before disappearing. The creature moves toward one of the swimmers, and Kitty and Matt suddenly get pulled underwater. Everyone quickly decides to return to the boat and manages to climb back on. Matt and Simon grab the oars and try to figure out the source of the problem, striking the water gently, but they only see a large shadow. Suddenly, the lake creature snatches Simon's oar and drags it underwater. When Deb tries to grab it, the creature bites her arm, creating a deep wound, and blood pours heavily. They realize her brachial artery has been severed. They make a pressure bandage using a belt, but it is not enough. Matt ties her arm with another rope, but the creature tries to break the oar in half. In that moment, Deb loses consciousness, and her arm remains above the water, dripping blood that attracts the creature. Kitty's boyfriend manages to pull Deb's arm back just in time, and they all get back onto the boat with Deb's body. Simon tries to row using the broken oar, but the boat moves very slowly. The giant fish attacks the side of the boat again, circling it before preparing another strike. The oar in Simon's hand is bitten and turned into a sharp, blade-like piece of wood. Simon strikes the creature on the head, but he falls into the water. They quickly pull him back onto the boat, but the injured creature does not stop and continues its aggressive attacks, even creating a small hole in the boat. After a few moments, the predator moves away slightly while the group tries to figure out what to do next. John sits on the edge of the boat the entire time, overwhelmed by fear and tension. At a certain moment, Matt decides to ask him what he knows about this place. Simon interrupts the questioning aggressively and violently, then notices the charm hanging around John's neck. He threatens to throw him into the water. John then admits that he has heard an old legend about the lake and talks about the creature. He also says he just wanted his friends to cross the lake safely and enjoy the other island. Kitty realizes that her friend believes in legends, especially since he was the one who insisted on giving her the charm. The rest of the group starts blaming John for what happened. Zeke suggests throwing Deb's body into the water to distract the creature. Simon agrees with the idea, while Kitty initially objects, but John eventually agrees after hesitation. The teenagers decide to throw Deb's body into the water, then immediately head toward the shore as fast as possible, while the creature begins feeding. The body briefly floats on the surface before being pulled underwater, waiting for the right moment. The group tries to row away quickly, but their speed gradually decreases. The fish does not seem in a hurry to attack, so the group decides it's time to remove water from the boat, as there is a small hole allowing water to slowly leak in. Matt moves toward the front of the boat, and tries to cover the hole using the lid of the cooler, while the others try to scoop out the water with their hands. The creature does not let them continue. It calmly approaches and pulls the cooler lid from Kitty's boyfriend's hands. The boys consider distracting the beast with food from the cooler, but the fish is not strongly affected, although it is clearly attracted to Simon and his brother in the water. The creature then decides to approach the teens directly, its dorsal fin clearly visible above the surface. As it gets dangerously close, the group stops rowing. Zeke says the only thing that worked so far was distracting it with Deb's body, then blames John again for everything. He suggests using one of them as bait, and proposes a vote to decide who should leave the boat. Before that, Zeke suggests everyone defend themselves. Kitty insists they should stay together, and try rowing instead of making extreme decisions. As the creature begins violently shaking the boat, panic rises. They choose Zeke to leave the boat, but Simon and Matt argue that they need him for rowing. On the other hand, Zeke tries to defend himself, insisting he has a promising future and deserves to live more than the others. He says he will achieve great things in the future, unlike his classmates. He continues blaming John, while Kitty says she plans to become a singer and also deserves a chance to survive. John says nothing in his defense, and the vote begins. It ends in a tie between John and Zeke, and Matt holds the deciding vote. He chooses Zeke, saying he will die instantly, while John still has a chance to live. Before Zeke is thrown into the water, he tells Kitty he will come back to her one day. Then he jumps into the lake on his own. The creature immediately appears and starts chasing him. After a short dive, Zeke disappears beneath the surface and does not resurface. The others try to drain the water from the boat quickly, while Kitty accuses them of not being real friends and not truly caring for each other, unlike Deb and John. She is especially angry at Zeke's selfishness, but Matt tries to calm her down. Kitty accuses Matt of going against her wishes in the vote, and he confronts her, saying her childhood friend never told her the truth about what's going on. But the argument is interrupted again by another attack from the creature. At the bottom of the boat, the teenagers find a romantic candle, partially wet but still burning. Simon suggests using it against the creature. The lake monster does not seem afraid, but it keeps its distance for a moment, circling the boat before pulling back. When the candle goes out, it returns again. The group once again considers throwing someone into the water as bait, but this time Zeke feels the plan is useless and desperately tries to defend himself. They attempt to throw him into the lake while he screams and pleads, but he mentions Kitty in his final words to no effect. He gets punched in the face and is thrown into the water. He tries to hold onto the boat, but they step on his fingers to push him away. He starts screaming, cursing the creature, and filming everything with the camera until he disappears underwater without resistance. The creature's teeth tear through his body, while the others continue trying to drain the boat quickly. An arm holding the camera briefly appears on the surface, while John reaches the shore and finds a motorboat. Inside the boat, tensions between the brothers and Kitty continue to worsen. Matt stays silent for a long time, then admits Zeke was right from the beginning. He becomes nervous, thinking about old memories from childhood. The group decides not to return, and they find John's axe at the bottom of the boat. Matt angrily threatens to kill the creature and tear it apart. Simon begins rowing using the cooler, but the creature attacks again and snatches it from his hands. It then strikes the side of the boat where the teenagers are, creating a large hole and causing more leaks. Kitty grabs the axe and starts striking the creature repeatedly. At the same time, the brothers try to encourage her, while we see John approaching the group in a motorboat. But he is not trying to take them with him, he only wants to tow them using a rope and bring them back to shore. He is extremely afraid for his life and hesitates for a long time. In the end, he throws them the rope, but the plan fails. The lake creature decides to attack John's boat, slamming into it violently. The rope begins to choke him. At first, Kitty wants to save him, but that would mean abandoning the boat, so she decides not to. John loses consciousness from suffocation. When the group tries to pull the boat, it flips over completely. The three survivors decide to return to the earlier situation, while the creature surrounds them from all sides. All attempts to right the overturned boat fail. Simon screams into the lake while his friends fall into despair. The creature disappears into the depths, leaving only part of its fin visible. At one moment, John sees the body, but the creature shows no interest in it at first. The group is devastated. Simon then decides to use an axe to cut parts of the boat's wood and turn them into makeshift paddles, and the three of them start rowing. The creature does not seem disturbed, but tension between the three continues to rise. They remember Zeke's words about his girlfriend and brother, and they stop rowing. Simon begins questioning Kitty about what they were doing when Zeke was filming them. Kitty defends him, saying he was just trying to improve his chances of survival. But her explanation does not convince her boyfriend, who continues pressuring his brother. Meanwhile, the creature gets closer, and they decide to hold a final vote to throw someone else into the water. Kitty admits she was with Matt, and Simon confirms it. A fight breaks out between the brothers in the middle of the boat, and they nearly kill each other. Simon accuses the girl of planning to change her life, while Matt tries to defend himself. The creature interrupts again, forcing them to stop fighting. At one point, Matt tries to strike his brother with an axe, and the conflict escalates. The boat begins sinking quickly. Simon hits his brother in the head, and Matt bleeds heavily, but they manage to keep him above water. The brothers barely survive and start swimming toward shore, while the creature slowly begins to pursue them. Simon eventually abandons his brother and pushes him toward the creature's mouth. Matt is swallowed alive. Meanwhile, Kitty survives because she was hiding on top of the overturned boat. She later appears and clings to John's floating body. She takes the charm from his neck, and the moment she removes it, the creature begins eating the body. Kitty hesitates for a moment, then jumps into the water and swims quickly toward shore, but she is not alone. Simon follows her out of the lake. He tells her she is the only one who ever understood him and grabs her by the neck. She accuses him of killing his brother. Simon tries to strangle her using the charm's string, nearly killing her, but suddenly the string breaks. Kitty takes the chance and runs toward shore. However, Simon chases her again, catches her, and starts drowning her. He tells her she will never leave this place. Suddenly, lights turn on from the shore. Simon is clearly visible in the water holding Kitty. Parks, the old man John met at the beginning, arrives at the lake and questions the only survivor. He says John's grandfather was a good man. Parks listens to Simon's story about the monster and says kids don't believe in such things. At that moment, Zeke's final camera footage is found. Parks says he has been watching Simon for a while and doesn't believe he tried to save his friends at all. It is revealed that not only the camera reached shore, but other items as well. They realize that Matt and his brother were sons of wealthy businessmen who owned half the city, and they believed the teenagers could escape without consequences. But Parks refuses to let it end there. He raises his gun at Simon and forces him back into the water. He fires a shot that hits the water near him, then another that strikes him directly. Simon screams but keeps trying to resist. He attempts to escape, but Parks shoots again and prevents him from coming up. Simon swims toward the middle of the lake, his cries echoing in the darkness. The creature reaches him and begins tearing him apart, causing deep wounds. He tries to return to shore, but the creature drags him down and consumes him. In the end, Parks returns to his car, while the charm shaped like the creature remains in the water at the place where all 6 teenagers died. And that is the end of the film. Thank you for watching, and don't forget your opinion matters. Leave your comments and subscribe to the channel.